Hey guys, it's Terin Humphrey from Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast. I'm a 2-time Olympic silver medalist, a 2-time Hall of Fame inductee, world champion, a 2-time NCAA champion, and owner of Humphrey's Gymnastics in Overland Park, Kansas. I'm striving for an enjoyable yet hardworking, safe environment to train towards college scholarships and youth activities. Be sure to check out my website at humphrey'sgymnastics.com, Facebook page, or Instagram. All ages and even some adult age programs are welcome. We will offer, of course, gymnastics, preschool, rec, and competitive, birthday parties, field trip, church group activities, dances, and much more. Contact us at info@humphrey'sgymnastics.com if you are interested in renting a space for your small business, whatever it may be. And join me every other week on my podcast on YouTube or Spotify at Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast. Welcome to Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast. I'm your host, Terin Humphrey. We also have my friend, Alexis Breon Crockett from the University of Alabama. She will be with me today, helping me answer and ask some questions to my guest. I'm so excited to have you, Blaine. First, I want to give a little bit about your background. You competed in 96, 2000, and 2004 Olympics. You were a 5-time U.S. national champion. And in 2004, the men's team won a silver medal. Blaine, to anyone my age, even a little bit older, you were the poster child, yet the rebel of the sport of gymnastics. I remember getting my gymnastics magazines in the mail every month, and I would continuously see you every month. What is the poster child up to these days?
Carting children from one sports activity to another. Also, I own my own gymnastics facility, Integrity Athletics. I'm one of the owners. And then I coach girls for a living, ironically. So
yeah, cool. So you used to coach boys, right?
I ran the boys program at IGC for a little bit with a couple of different people a long time ago. But when you show up at camps, you coach everybody. So you coach guys, girls, doesn't matter. Boys, girls, doesn't matter.
Yeah. What's the biggest difference in coaching boys and girls?
Boys don't really, there's no technique. They just kind of chuck things, and they're not afraid to chuck things. Where girls have to be, a lot of times you have to, hey, you're going to be okay. Just follow, they go through progressions, and that's the difference. The biggest difference, at least that I can see.
I recently got a chance to catch up with you at your gym. I noticed you have volleyball and other sports. So do you encourage your gymnasts to do other sports?
Yes, by all means. I played baseball, I played basketball, soccer, gymnastics. But it helps you be a more well-rounded gymnast or athlete. I'd say, 13, 14, 15, like in that age range, right now, my son's in that age range where you're going to have to make a decision whether or not you want to, devote your time to gymnastics, because it's not one of those sports that you can just show up and do. That's the biggest thing. Once you get into that, if the parents are want to follow that route, you got to tell them, look, you're going to have to quit other sports in order to do this sport. If not, we can, you can go the Excel route and you can have fun with it, and you don't have to be fully committed to this one route. So,
yeah. How did you get started in gymnastics, and then why did you put your son in gymnastics?
Well, my parents put me in a local YMCA because basically I was breaking their couches. No, I was off the wall. I was everywhere. And they decided that would be the best place to focus my energy. And then it just snowballed from there. Ironically, both my boys, they were in my gym. The older one, he loved it. The younger one, I didn't want anything to do with it. He goes in there and flips around, but that's how it started. All three of my children, they come into the gym. My daughter's 20 now, gonna be turning 21 this year. but I think about it, and when they were little babies, you held them on your chest, and then I did a backflip on the tramp. So I did it with all three kids.
So scary. 3-time Olympian. Like, how does that even happen? How does your body handle that?
It wasn't easy. The in '96 I made it, and I was a junior in college. So I basically followed John Roethlisberger's route, 22, 26, 30. And you just have to make sure you're taking really good care of your body. Which in '96 I was like, I don't know anything. Who cares? Let's just do it. It's the Olympics. Let's go. And then as before, you just have to make sure that you pay attention to what you're doing and how you're doing it, especially as you get older. I suffered a major injury and between 97. Oh no, 2000.
Is this when you tore your bicep?
No, I tore my supraspinatus. Had to have that reattached, and I was out for almost a whole year. And then in 04, I tore my biceps tendon. So 2 major injuries towards the end of my career from 01 to 04. But yeah, just got to go through rehab and trust the doctors. And conditioning is key. Conditioning is the biggest. I would say that helped me the most was just continuously conditioning.
So from each Olympic, did your training change? Obviously, you're aging. I'm sure your body probably felt it within the 4 years of each Olympics. So did training get not necessarily easier, but were you finding ways to work smarter and not harder in a sense?
Yes. I mean, you want to take multiple turns. The one thing that I preach to my gymnasts all the time is quality over quantity. You can take 10 really crappy turns. It doesn't help you take 5 quality turns. There you go. And that's basically kind of the motto I followed, especially when you're younger. I was in my early 20s, and it was like, hey, I can take as many turns as I want. It's not going to take its toll. And then you get, 26, you're like, it's going to get a little harder. And then once you get into your 30s, you better be pay attention to what you're doing and how you're doing it. I'm going to just strategically take this amount of turns. But I will say this, and to all these kids, and I watch some of the boys at my gym, especially my son too, the amount of time that you take in between turns it should be 30 to 45 seconds, maybe a minute. I mean, the 2.5, 4 minute chalk tray things, that doesn't help you. And I'm a huge preacher of that, because you get into a rhythm. But that's how I kept moving forward and forward and forward. Don't take that much time, but make sure you're taking quality turns.
Yeah,
good advice.
A part of this podcast is actually talking about some injuries, and not just injuries, life. When life happens to get you down, like, how do you stay motivated to go on to the next Olympics or to go on to the next phase of your life? How do you stay motivated?
Well, the Olympics was easy because, everybody thinks that you just show up at the Olympics and they hand you a medal. There you go. Hey, good to see you. You got a medal. That's not the case. It took me 3 to get 1. So for me, it was just all about, hey, I'm not going to go through World Championships and the Olympic Games and not have something to show for it. Not to say that that's the most important thing, but at the time it was like, I just can't, I couldn't close that door. And I finally did, 2003 World Championships, we ended up with the silver, and, silver in 2004. So it was just, I knew I wasn't done. And as I told everybody before, I wasn't ready to get a real job. Not happening.
Yeah. So I actually read somewhere, I don't know where I read it, but it was like 80% of Olympians go into depression after the Olympics, just because there's so much buildup to that moment. And then you get there, and then you're kind of left with, what now? Has that been something you've ever experienced?
Not so much. I'm a you know, a firm believer that they should have some kind of program for for Olympians. Whether it's gymnastics, whatever it is, a transition stage, because you do this for so long. I was 4 quadrenniums. This is 12 years, 12 hard years of gymnastics. And, not to say that I did longer. I was on the U.S. team for 16 years or something like that. But there should be a transition phase that, they expect you to go in and win all this stuff. And then when you're done, you're like, well, what do I do? And I think there should be educational classes or something that these federations can do to help bridge that gap between I'm in such an emotional high, and now what? Like, what am I going to do? For me, it was very easy. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I started coaching kids when I was in college at IGC when I was 18 years old. So by the time I finished, when I was 30, 31, I was like, I want to open a gym. I want to coach kids, or I want to coach in college. So I was a volunteer assistant coach at Ohio State, and then I became an assistant coach at Ohio State. So it was very easy for me because I knew that's what I wanted to do. But it's extremely hard for some of these other athletes, as I said before, not just gymnastics, for any sport. It's a struggle. It's very difficult. And, you look at all these athletes that graduate college after they're done. The majority of them don't even use their whatever they graduate in. Ironically, I graduated in psychology 17 years later, after I started school, but I use it every single day that I coach these kids. So it's just, I could see how it would be a struggle, graduate with finance. Well, I don't want to do finance. Now what? So.
How did you get into college coaching?
You mean at Ohio State?
Uh-huh. Both of us want to be college coaches eventually, so we're just kind of wondering that transition. How did you get to that point?
Well, I was still training, and so up through after the 2000 games, I came back home, and I was going to keep training. And Miles Avery was like, "Well, do you want to be a volunteer assistant coach?" I was like, "Yeah." So I went. I trained at Ohio State, and then I coached. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then when I finished in 2004, Miles was like, "You want a job?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take a job." The ironic thing about taking the job at Ohio State is that I hadn't graduated yet, so I had to go back and finish school when I was there coaching. So as 17 years after I started school, I graduated.
Wow.
How do you?
Long process.
I bet. Did you enjoy college coaching? Like, what are the difference between college coaching and then, you're coaching now level 10s, elites, level 9? I did. The thing is that right now you're coaching, level 9s, 10s, and it's girls gymnastics. Where in college, I'm coaching guys gymnastics. Yeah. And you can say things a little differently to college gymnasts, college men versus the young women that I'm coaching. Right. So I think that was the biggest thing. You get on the college guys, you're like, come on, you're a grown man. Let's move forward. Let's get this done. Whereas the girls, you need to make sure that you're very, very in touch with what you say and how you say it. It's not a coaxing thing, but you also have to be, a little firm. Like, what do you plan on getting done today? I have this little plan here, and you seem to not want to follow it. So what do you do with that? Where in college, this is your job. This is why you're here. Some of you guys are getting a full scholarship, some half, but you're still getting paid to be here. So that was the biggest thing.
Do you coach your son, and are you that gym dad that nobody likes?
And I'm going to say this, and don't anybody take it the wrong way. I try not to coach my own son because we don't see eye to eye. The way I see gymnastics and hard work is not necessarily the way he sees it. I mean, he's still a hard worker, but I would never coach a girl that I coach at my gym the way I would coach him, especially because it's my son, and I feel like for sure I can definitely be harder on him. There's a lot of times that he might make something. He's like, "Dad, that was good. Did you see that?" Yeah, but you didn't point your feet, or you didn't do this. It's never. And I feel bad because when the girls do it, I'm like, "That was great. Good job. Let's work more on pointing your feet." But no. First thing for him is to point out a negative, which is not necessarily. It's not great. Not a good thing to do. But as a gymnastics coach, I don't think a lot of people realize that 95 or 96 or 7% of what we do is you're telling people what they're doing wrong.
Right.
That's what we do to make things right. And you're trying to be complimentary at the same time that you're telling them, hey, it's wrong. We got to fix it. But yes, I love my son to death, but if it's just him and I one-on-one and there's nobody else in there, I think we work a little bit better. Like we've gone in mornings where we go 7 to 8:15 in the morning, or 8:20, 8:30, and then I take him to school. Those days are much easier. But when I'm across the gym and I'm watching him and I just scream something out, I could be one of those gym dads.
Do you think your son feels pressure just because you were a 3-time Olympian? And how does he feel? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you can see it. He's like, "Dad, I'm not you. I don't want you to be me. You're not me. That's the whole thing. You're you. I'm me." I said, "But I'm not gonna not train you like I think you should be trained." But yes, he's coming into his own. He's no longer, "Oh, that's Blaine Wilson's kid," or it's Jackson Wilson. And he's creating his own path. So it's good. And I don't coach him. So when I'm at nationals, I'm sitting in the stands over here in the corner somewhere, try not to say anything to him, when he's competing, but it's very hard because I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah. So as a coach and a dad, what advice do you give the parents to not be that gym mom or that gym dad?
I think the biggest thing is you can't want it more than they want it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not, if you as a parent have something that you didn't do, you can't live vicariously through your kid in order to get it done. It just doesn't happen. Support them, tell them you're proud of them. But in the end, nagging is not going to, it's not going to help the situation. I tell my son, you come home, my wife, Aliane, was rhythmic gymnast in 1996 at the Olympian. I'm like, she stretches people for a living. You're not flexible. Ask your mother. It's that kind of stuff. And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to be that gym dad, but I'm like, that's a very, very simple thing to be figuring out. But once again, you can't, in my opinion, you can't want it more than they do. So. Yeah.
I vaguely remember how you and your wife met. I think it's a pretty funny story. I think maybe you should share that.
Well, in 1996, she was in the Olympics. She was, I was 22. She was 4 years, 17, 18. But I knew her back then, but it was in passing. Just kind of over the years run into each other. And then in 2008, we were on tour and we decided to get married. So we went to Reno we were in Reno. And then we went to, I think, Sacramento, drove back to Reno, got married, and then went back and did this show. So,
did you go? Did you just go?
We got married at the courthouse and
I thought I would put that in there because that very much shows Blaine's personality. He's a very go-getter, very quick, off the seat type of person. So I thought that was a really cool story.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's and you know what? Going almost 15 years later, it's like it's been fantastic rides.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I want to go back to the Olympic Village. How was the Olympic Village for you guys? I know there's a lot of debate on, you know, the men versus the women at the Olympics. I remember seeing you with Andy Roddick just icing and having a good time where we barely got to say hi to anyone. So how was it for you?
You know, it's funny because in 1996 we were nowhere near the village. I mean, we did Corman didn't have us stay in the village, so I never went in. In 2000, we stayed in the village. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, you see so many different athletes, obviously from different walks of life, and you walk into the mess hall, and they got everything you could possibly think of, every food you could possibly think of from every different part of the world. You're like, I need to watch what I eat here. But everybody wants McDonald's. Didn't make any sense to me. You have all this other food, you want to eat McDonald's. But yeah, in 2004, I knew it was going to be my last Olympics, so I was going to, you know, take the time and try to see other stuff, because in Sydney I didn't see very much. And in 96, I left right after as soon as we didn't do as well as I thought we did, I was not a very good teammate because I didn't stay. I was on my way home listening to Jair Lynch win a silver medal in P-bars in the car. I was so mad I wanted to go home and start training again. And then, 2000, I saw a couple different things, but didn't stay that long. So in 04, I'm like, I'm staying for a little bit longer. And you're right, you know, to hang out with Marty Fish and Andy Roddick, good dudes. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys have to deal with your coaches. Our coaches are a little bit more lenient, and that's unfortunately where everything was at. But yeah, ice and just hang out and. No, you were in the athletes lounge where you have the TVs on either side, and did you go in there at all?
We went in there for maybe 30 seconds, and that was about it. We were excited to get McDonald's after we competed too. So yeah, the McDonald's was a big deal.
Yeah, it just I unfortunately I don't understand why they figured that everything would be such a big distraction. But if you're not used to seeing all the stuff that the guys at the time were used to seeing, like, you know, going around, we went and saw, you know, a couple other different things, you know, even when we were competing. But, you know, I never saw it in opening ceremonies, and not in one Olympic Games, because we competed the next day.
Right. Yeah. Gymnastics is one of the first sports to compete. So yeah, we didn't go in the opening ceremonies either.
Yeah.
Crazy.
6.5 hours of standing, not going to happen. But I also never saw closing ceremonies because I didn't stay long enough, because we're the first week, and I was like, I stayed for, you know, a week and a half and then went home. So I was at home before closing ceremonies.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. You did mention not being a good teammate. Can you elaborate on if you, like, the next few games, you felt like a better teammate?
Yeah, I think, and let me explain why I said that. I should have stayed to make sure or I should have stayed to watch Jair finish. It was my fault. I was very salty with what happened, and I just wanted to go home, and I wanted to start training again. So I got home. I was off one day and back in the gym.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by because I didn't stay and support him. That was a bad move on my part at the time. You know, I was 22. I had no idea.
Sure. I would like to elaborate, because when I was in college, I felt like I was just so burnt out that I couldn't be there for my teammates. And I felt like a bad teammate as well. And not necessarily because you mean to, but sometimes we go through a burnout period. where you have to be away from the sport. You just have to. Did
I
that
can
ever
see
happen
it.
to you?
Yeah, I could see it because I mean it's very different for you guys if you make the Olympics, then you head to college.
Mhm.
It's like I can think of you look at Mohini Bharadwaj. I mean,
Right.
she went to college first and then made the Olympic team. So it was obviously a little different for her. But yeah, I mean, you look at John Roethlisberger and myself, a lot of us did it while we were either in college or already competed through college and then went. So yeah, I could see how that would, that could be really tough. In 2000, 2004, once again, a lot of our 96 and 2000, I think there was only one athlete. Everybody had been through college.
Yeah.
Except, you look at John McCready was one of the only ones in 96, Mihai Baju in 2000. And then, I mean, you look at the 04 team, you had both Paul Morgan and Brett and Jason Gatson. None of them went to college or did college gymnastics. It was just Guard Young and myself. So in every team had a different dynamic. And everybody pulled their own weight, so to speak. Once again, though, I was there always like, you need to be the captain. I don't want to be the captain. Can I just do as I do? One of those things. I don't want to be like, you need to pick it up here. Anybody can say that at any given time when you're there, whether or not you're a team captain or not. Like, this is not going the way we thought it was going to go. We need to fix something.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if I would have been a good teammate at that time. I'd have been like, oh no, I don't want to see gymnastics again.
I noticed you have no social media. Why do you have no social media? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a dinosaur. Hank Williams Jr. I think had a song. It was I'm a dinosaur. I died out a long time ago. No, I just don't see any benefit to it. My gym has it. I have a lot of great people that work for me, and I work for them. So I don't consider myself the boss. I have a girl's head coach, and you know what? I work for her. That's all there is to it. But yeah, I don't. There's nothing on there for me. I don't need to see it. There's no benefit for me to be on it. It's not educational. No news right now is educational. But I see it creating more problems than benefits. And unless you have a company with somebody who, does Facebook, Twitter, all that other stuff, and that can push, your gym out there so people get to see, more of it. Other than that, no benefit. So
do your children have social media, or your wife?
Alian is always on it. She has her own little small business, so she spends a lot of time on it. My boys are on it very little. They might get maybe an hour a day until the weekends, but outside of that, no. I mean, there's nothing good on there. All you can find is bad stuff, in my own personal opinion.
So I know every little girl, or most little girls or little boys that walk into the gym and want to be a gymnast, the ultimate goal is they want to go to the Olympics. That's like the ultimate dream. But we all know that every 4 years, a very few make it to the Olympics. It's a handful. So my question is to you, and for people that are listening, this could be good advice. Do you talk to your gymnasts and parents too? Because I think it's also equally important to be talked to as the parent about other routes, that the Olympics is not always the ultimate goal, that getting your education paid for in a full scholarship is also a major accomplishment, that it doesn't always have to be just one road.
That is ironically what we preach. We don't teach. We don't. If you want to be, if you want to go to the Olympics, or you want to go that route, be an elite athlete, we'll train you up to a certain point. But I will definitely point you in the directions of different gyms that are around here that will, go that route. I think the one thing that we preach to these parents is the end return on your money and your child is their education. And if we can get them a college scholarship, then that's what we're doing. We can't promise they're going to get that, but that's the only route that we take at our gym. It's just, I think for us, it's too much of a hassle. There's too many different things to jump through. It's too many different hoops. And I hate to say it, unfortunately, there's a lot of headaches going that route. But if you're willing to jump into that pool and your athlete is, or your daughter or son is that good, then by all means go ahead. But you're in return for most of your time and effort will be a college, to go to college. I don't think that these parents take into account what you said, which was there's a small percentage, 0.001 for women, close to that, or 2. It's crazy small, not even funny small. And then for men, it's a little larger, but once again, it's small. They have to be extremely good, to get there. And I don't think a lot of these parents realize exactly how small it is, how minute it is. I'll compare it to golf. There's a lot of people that play golf and there's a lot of good golfers, but they aren't on the tour.
Right.
They're not on the tour. So I think parents need to step back and actually, if you want to look at that, take a look at how many people have made the Olympics for gymnastics. Go the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. How many people have done it consecutively?
Right. It's not a lot.
No, myself and John Roethlisberger, hey, we were lucky enough to work hard enough and be at a time where, hey, you could have the opportunity to make 3 Olympic Games. It's just, it's so difficult. And then, hey, parents, take this into account. When I first started in 1996 and got to the first Olympics, we had 7 guys on the team. Mm-hmm. There's now 4 and an individual. So your chances just dropped enormously. It's unbelievable. So,
have you had any parents come to you and say, "Hey, I want you to train my kid to make the Olympics"? How do you handle that?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. To that extent. They're like, do you think my kid? Well, yeah. If they put in the effort and the time, anything is possible. You're not going to shut down somebody's dream of getting there. It's just,
right.
You have to be realistic for where you're at and what you're doing. But no, I haven't. You know what? I haven't had one that I can think of. Maybe in a camp setting where the parents are super jazzed and, oh, you taught them all this stuff. Can you get them to the Olympics? Maybe in that kind of passing. But never once have I had somebody show up at my gym and say, hey, I need you to train my kid to get to the Olympics, because I would just be like, that's not what we do here.
Good advice. Yeah, really good.
All right. So I'm asking for a friend, and the friend is me. What advice do you have for gym owners starting out?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I have, I will say no. My advice, thinking about it right now, is surround yourself with people that aren't afraid to tell you you're wrong, and people that work hard. I have really good people that run my gym. I really don't do anything. All I do is coach. So I have really good people that manage and run and take care of the problems. If the problem gets all the way to me, then there is a massive issue. But I think that is the biggest thing is, surround yourself with very, very good people that you can trust. Get a really good, and coaches right now are so hard to come by. Really good coaches, because I hate to say it, there's a lot of people that just show up, think that the job's going to be easy. When they find out it's hard, I'll just quit. Day and age on that one, buddy. Day and age. But yeah, I mean, I'd say that's the biggest thing. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just make sure they're mistakes that you can come back from. But yeah, people make the business work.
All right. Is there anything else you want to share with everyone? Any advice, any words that you live by before we wrap up?
Other than the things that I always tell people, and the kids that I coach, I got a girl that's really, really good, and she's always worried about, I got to get to the end, and she did really well at regionals. But the one thing I always tell everybody is enjoy the journey. You have to enjoy what you're doing to get to the end, your final product. So just enjoy your entire journey. I'm not always the most positive person. I'm like, oh my God. But you still have to enjoy what's going on.
Love it. Good advice.
Remember, send in those questions, topics you want us to discuss, or would like to sponsor us. Go on our YouTube channel. Hey guys, it's Terin Humphrey from Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast. I'm a 2-time Olympic silver medalist, a 2-time Hall of Fame inductee, world champion, a 2-time NCAA champion, and owner of Humphrey's Gymnastics in Overland Park, Kansas. I'm striving for an enjoyable yet hardworking, safe environment to train towards college scholarships and youth activities. Be sure to check out my website at humphreysgymnastics.com, Facebook page, or Instagram. All ages and even some adult-age programs are welcome. We will offer, of course, gymnastics, preschool, rec, and competitive, birthday parties, field trip, church group activities, dances, and much more. Contact us at info@humphreysgymnastics.com if you are interested in renting a space for your small business, whatever it may be. And join me every other week on my podcast on YouTube or Spotify at Humphrey's Gymnastics Podcast.